The first time anyone heard the tape, they thought it was a prank. It was found in an evidence box that should have been destroyed years ago. A dusty cardboard container labeled Blackwater Ridge, 1998, unsolved. Inside were some Polaroids, a torn map, and a sheriff's badge with dried mud on it, and a single cassette tape wrapped in plastic. The tape had no label, just a date. When the archivist played it, the recording began with the sound of wind. It was harsh and cold, like it was blowing across an empty field. Then came a man's voice. It was trembling and whispering, like he was hiding from something. If you're hearing this, I didn't make it out, and God help you if you're anywhere near Blackwater Ridge. The tape ended with a scream. It wasn't loud or choked. It was like someone being dragged away. The archivist turned it off, filed a report, and went home. He didn't show up to work the next day, or the day after. By the end of the week, his apartment was found empty. The lights were on, and the coffee was still warm. The front door was wide open, and the tape was missing. 28 years later, Detective Mara Ellison drove down Highway 208 toward the forgotten town of Blackwater. She wasn't supposed to be on this case. It wasn't even a case anymore, but she had received a letter in the mail with no return address. Inside was a single Polaroid, a picture of her father standing in front of the Blackwater Ridge trailhead. The date on the bottom corner, 11/2 of 98, the same day he disappeared. Her father, Sheriff Daniel Ellison, had been the lead investigator on the Blackwater Ridge disappearance, a string of missing persons that had plagued the area for decades. Hunters and campers, a survey crew, a pair of teenagers, and a truck driver whose rig was found still running on the side of the road. And then her father vanished too. The official story was lost in the woods. Mara never believed that, though. Now someone was telling her to come back. The closer she got to Blackwater, the more the land seemed to change. The trees grew denser and darker, leaning over the road like they were listening. The air felt heavier, and the sky dimmed even though it was barely past noon. Her phone signaled miles before she reached the town's limits. Blackwater looked abandoned. It had boarded windows, empty storefronts, and a gas station with a sign that read, "Closed until further notice." Even though the notice had probably been posted 20 years ago, but someone was still here, she said. Someone had mailed her that photo. The only place with lights on was a small diner at the edge of town, the Ridgeview Grill. Inside, a single man sat in the corner booth, staring at a cup of coffee he wasn't drinking. He looked up when Mara entered, eyes sunken, his face was pale, and his hands were trembling. "You're Ellison's girl," he said. Not a question. "Who are you?" "Name's Carter. I worked with your dad, deputy." He swallowed hard. "I'm the one who sent the picture to you." "Why now?" she said. "Because it's starting again." Mara sat across from him. "What is?" Carter looked toward the window like he expected something to be watching. "The disappearances, the sounds in the woods, the lights at night, the thing." Mira leaned forward. "What thing?" she asked. He didn't answer at first. His jaw clenched and his eyes watered. Finally, he whispered, "The thing that looked your father in the eye and took him." Before she could respond, the diner lights flickered twice. Then the power went out completely. The only sound was the wind outside, rising, howling, and almost speaking. Carter stood up fast. "We need to go now," he said. Carter led Mara to his truck, parked behind the diner. The wind had picked up, swirling dust across the empty street. "What's happening?" Mara asked. "It knows you're here." "What does?" Carter didn't answer. He started the truck and sped toward the outskirts of town. They reached an old ranger station, boarded windows, rusted metal roof, and a radio tower leaning at a dangerous angle. Inside, Carter locked the door behind them. Start talking, Mara demanded, but Carter took a deep breath. Your father wasn't investigating a person. He wasn't even investigating an animal. He was tracking something older, something that had been here longer than the town itself. Mara crossed her arms. You sound insane, she said. Do I? Carter opened a drawer and pulled out a stack of Polaroids. Look at these. The photos showed the forest at night, trees bent unnaturally, and the shadows that didn't match the direction of the moonlight. Claw marks on rocks taller than a man. And then there were the footprints, massive and deep. They were not human or animal. They were something in between. Carter continued as his voice was shaking. Your father found its nest. He recorded everything. That tape they found, that was his last message, Mara. She froze. My father made that tape? Carter nodded. And you have a copy? He pointed to a metal lockbox in the corner, but before Mara could reach it, something slammed against the outside wall, very hard. The entire building shook under pressure. Carter grabbed a shotgun. It followed us, he said, and another slam took place, and then another. Then the sound of something dragging its claws across the siding. Mara whispered, What is that? Carter's voice cracked. It's hungry, and it's found us. The creature circled the ranger station, scraping, sniffing, and testing the walls. Mara could hear its breathing, deep, wet, animalistic, but wrong, too rhythmic, too aware. Carter motioned her to stay low. The creature stopped at the front door. Silence. Then, with a single knock, slow, deliberately, and mocking, Carter whispered, It's learning. The doorknob began to turn. Mara raised her gun towards the door. As the door creaked open just an inch, a voice came through, her father's voice. Mara, open the door. Her blood ran cold. That's not him, Carter hissed. It mimics us. The voice repeated perfectly and identically. Mara, open the door. Then the creature spoke again, but this time it used Carter's voice. Let me in. Carter's hands shook violently. It only mimics what it kills. The door suddenly slammed shut, like something had been yanked away from it. Then the footsteps moved toward the woods, and the forest went silent. When the creature was gone, Carter opened the lockbox. Inside was original cassette tape, the one her father recorded the night he vanished. Carter handed it to her. This is why I called you, he said. Mara stared at the tape, her hands trembling. Play it, Carter, please. She slid it into the old tape recorder, and the recording began her father's voice, panicked and breathless. If anyone finds this, the thing isn't hunting us, it's studying us. It knows our voices and our habits and our fears. Then it turned to static. It lives in the ridge, in the caves. It drags them underground. As more static broke out, I'm going after it. I have to. It took the kids. It took away the survey crew. It took a roar in the background, her father screaming. Then the tape cut off. Mara's heart pounded under pressure. Carter whispering, He went into the ridge and he never came out, Mara. She stood up and told Carter, I'm going in. Blackwater Ridge loomed over the forest like a jagged scar. The trailhead was overgrown, the sign faded, and the path swallowed by years of neglect. Carter tried to stop her. You don't understand what's down there. You don't understand what you're getting into. I'm going to find my father, she said. He's dead, and I'm bringing him home. Carter hesitated, then followed her. The deeper they went, and the colder the air, the forest grew unnaturally quiet. There was no birds, no insects, and no wind, just pure silence. Then they found the first body, a hiker, half buried in leaves, His face was pale, eyes wide open, mouth frozen in a silent scream. His chest was torn open and his ribs cracked like twigs. Carter whispered, "It feeds on them." They kept moving. They found more bodies, older ones, bones, clothing, and a rusted badge. Mara knelt and picked it up. It was her father's badge. Her throat tightened. "We're close," she said. They reached the cave entrance and a massive opening in the rock, like a mouth frozen mid scream inside. The darkness felt alive. The cave walls were covered in claw marks. The air smelled of rot and damp earth. The deeper they went, the more the tunnel widened. Then they reached the nest, a massive cavern filled with bones, human and animal, arranged in spirals, circles, patterns that made absolutely no sense. In the center was a pit, and hanging above it, suspensed by sinew and roots, was a body. It was her father's, or what was left of him. Mara collapsed to her knees. Carter whispered, "I'm sorry." A sound echoed through the cavern, a low, guttural growl. The creature stepped into the faint light. It was tall, impossibly tall, with limbs too long, joints bending the wrong way. Its skin stretched thin over his skeletal frame. Its face was a shifting mass of features, eyes forming and dissolving, mouths opening and closing, voices whispering from within. Then it spoke, in her father's voice. "Mara." She raised her gun. The creature lunged. The fight was chaos, gunshots echoing, rocks falling, and the creature shrieking in a dozen voices at once. Carter was thrown against the wall, blood spraying across the stone. Mara grabbed a flare from her pack and ignited it. The creature recoiled, screaming. Light heard it. She waved the flare, forcing it back, driving it toward the pit. The creature mimicking her voice now. "Stop. Please help me." She didn't stop, and with one final shove, she drove the burning flare into its chest. The creature fell backward into the pit, shrieking as the light consumed it. The cavern shook and the rocks collapsed. The tunnel began to cave in. Mara grabbed Carter and dragged him toward the exit. They barely made it out before the entire ridge collapsed behind them. By sunrise, the forest felt different. It felt lighter, quieter, and almost peaceful. Carter sat on the tailgate of his truck, bandaging his ribs. "You think it's dead?" he asked. Mara stared at the ridge. "I think we heard it, but not killed it," she said. "No." Carter sighed. "So what now?" Mara looked at the Polaroid of her father. "I finished what he started." 2 weeks later, a package arrived at Mara's apartment. It had no return address. Inside was a cassette tape, and the date on it was 6/18/26. Today's date. She played it. Wind, breathing, and footsteps. Then a voice, her voice. "If you're hearing this, it's not dead." The tape ended. Mara froze. Someone or something had recorded her recently, and it was close, very close. Thank you so much for listening, guys. If you made it this far and would like me to drop part two of this, I would leave it down in the comments. If you want to like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening and stay tuned for the future. Thank you.